Life doesn't break you in one moment, it tests you in 1,000 quiet ways. Pressure, failure, rejection, loss. In those moments, strength isn't about shouting the loudest or pretending you're unshakable. Real strength is staying disciplined when no one is watching, staying calm when everything feels chaotic, and standing firm when life tries to push you to your knees. Denzel Washington often reminds us that greatness is built in the dark, in the moments when giving up feels easier than going on. This is not about motivation for one day. This is about building a mindset that keeps you strong in any situation, no matter how hard life hits. I used to believe that strength meant holding everything together, that I had to control every situation, every person, every outcome. I thought if I worried enough, if I pushed hard enough, if I planned meticulously, I could somehow bend life to my will. I thought life would reward my persistence and my effort alone. But the truth is, life doesn't care about your plans. Life doesn't answer to your logic or your willpower. Life will throw challenges at you that are bigger than anything you imagined, and you can't control all of them. I learned the hard way that trying to control what cannot be controlled doesn't make you strong. It makes you tired, frustrated, and weak. The moment I started to understand this, my life began to change. I realized that true power, true resilience, isn't about controlling everything around me. It's about controlling what I can. My effort, my mindset, my response, and letting go of what I cannot. That's where freedom lives. That's where strength lives. It's not in the chaos outside. It's in the calm you cultivate inside. There are countless things in this world that I cannot control. I cannot control how others think about me. I cannot control whether they believe in me or doubt me. I cannot control when opportunity will knock or whether someone will recognize my hard work. I cannot control the past, and I certainly cannot predict the future. And yet, for years, I wasted energy trying. I wasted nights lying awake, replaying conversations, worrying about decisions, wishing circumstances were different. I was chasing control that didn't exist. I was fighting a battle that could never be won. And then I asked myself a question that changed everything: what is in my control right now? What belongs to me without question, without exception? And the answer hit me like a wave: my effort, my mindset, my response. That's all I ever have. That's all I ever need. I can't control everything, but I can always control how I show up. I can control whether I give my best, whether I stay focused, whether I refuse to be defeated. That realization was liberating. It freed me from the tyranny of circumstances. When I focus on what I can control, everything else starts to make sense. I learned to shift my energy away from things I cannot influence. I stopped replaying arguments in my mind. I stopped worrying about opinions I cannot change. I stopped being angry at situations that were beyond my reach. Instead, I directed my energy toward preparation, discipline, and action, things that actually mattered, things that I could influence. That is the moment strength begins. That is the moment resilience is born. Control does not mean obsessing over perfection. Control does not mean manipulating outcomes. Control means committing to excellence in the areas you can impact. It means deciding that your effort will never be negotiable. It means holding yourself accountable when life seems unfair. Because here's the truth: life will always be unfair. But your response is always yours. That is power. That is freedom. That is strength. Letting go is equally important. Letting go doesn't mean quitting or giving up. It doesn't mean surrendering your dreams or your standards. It means choosing not to waste your energy on what you cannot change. Letting go means focusing on what matters, the choices you make, the effort you give, the person you become in the process. It's not easy to release anger, disappointment, or resentment. Those emotions feel justified, even righteous. But holding on to them only drains you, and it keeps you tied to circumstances that are already decided. Strength is releasing those chains. Strength is choosing your energy, your peace, your focus. I started to notice the difference almost immediately. When I stopped obsessing over things outside of my control, I began to think clearly. I could see solutions where before I only saw obstacles. I could act decisively where before I hesitated, paralyzed by doubt and fear. I could carry myself with confidence, not because the world had aligned in my favor, but because I knew I had done everything in my power to prepare, to adapt, and to persevere. And when the results came, whether good or bad, I was ready. I wasn't crushed by disappointment because I had anchored my strength in my effort, not in outcomes. There is also a quiet power in knowing when to let go of control. Most people panic when things don't go their way because they're trying to force results. I learned that it's far more powerful to prepare thoroughly and then allow life to unfold. Control what you can. Accept what you cannot. That doesn't mean passivity, it means clarity. It means focus. It means channeling your energy where it actually makes a difference. And when you do that, you begin to move through life with a calm, unshakable confidence. I also learned to control what I feed my mind. Thoughts are not always under our command, but what we dwell on is. Fear will knock, doubt will whisper, worry will try to take residence. But I've learned not to answer the door to every passing thought. I protect my focus. I choose my mindset. I decide daily to cultivate thoughts that empower me, that remind me of my worth, my purpose, my resilience. That mental discipline becomes the backbone of strength, because when the storm comes, your mind is your anchor. There's an undeniable freedom in this philosophy. When you accept that some things are beyond your control and you focus on what belongs to you, life stops feeling like a constant battle. You stop fighting imaginary battles and conserve energy for the real ones, the ones you can influence. And here's the paradox. Letting go of control doesn't make you weak, it makes you strong. It makes you decisive, focused, and resilient. It allows you to rise even when the world is falling apart. The moment I truly embraced this, everything changed. I realized that the strongest people are not those who dominate circumstances. They are those who dominate themselves. They are not the ones who bend life to their will, but the ones who show up prepared, disciplined, focused, and unshaken, regardless of what life throws at them. That is the essence of strength. That is the essence of control. And it all begins with one simple truth: control what you can and let go of what you cannot. Life will never be completely in your hands. It will never follow your schedule or your script, but your effort, your mindset, and your response, those are always in your hands. Anchor yourself there. Trust yourself there. Let go of everything else. When you do that, nothing outside of you can ever break you. And that is how you stay strong no matter what. I used to think motivation was everything. I used to think that if I could just feel inspired enough, if I could just get that surge of energy, I could achieve anything. And for a while it worked. I had bursts of fire, moments when I felt unstoppable, moments when I thought, yes, I can do this. I am ready. But the problem with motivation is that it doesn't last. It comes in waves, unpredictable, unreliable, fleeting. One day you feel like a lion, the next day you feel like a shadow. If I had depended on motivation alone, I would have failed countless times. I would have abandoned projects, given up on dreams, and walked away from opportunities that required patience, persistence, and unwavering commitment. That's when I realized the difference between motivation and discipline, and that difference changed everything. Discipline is what separates those who dream from those who achieve. Discipline is not a feeling. Discipline is not something that depends on your energy level or the conditions around you. Discipline is a decision. It's a choice. It's showing up day after day, even when you don't feel like it. It's doing the work when it's hard. It's continuing the grind when no one is watching. Discipline is what builds the foundation that motivation can never provide. Motivation may give you the spark, but discipline is the fire that keeps burning long after the spark fades. I've had mornings when my body was exhausted, my mind was tired, and my soul just wanted to quit. On those mornings, motivation had left me. There was no inspiration, no excitement, no rush of energy pushing me forward. But discipline carried me. Discipline is what made me wake up early, practice, rehearse, study, write, train, and prepare. Discipline is what made me push past the pain, the fear, and the doubt. And over time, those small, disciplined actions compounded. They turned into strength. They turned into skill. They turned into results. I realized that relying on motivation is like building a house on sand. It looks good in the moment. It feels strong when the tide is low. But the moment life gets heavy, the house collapses. Discipline, on the other hand, is like building a house on solid rock. It doesn't matter if the storm comes, if the winds howl, if the pressure is immense. Discipline withstands it all. Discipline is consistent. Discipline is reliable. Discipline is unstoppable. And that is the difference between surviving and thriving. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is not self-torture. Discipline is commitment to yourself. It is saying, I will not let my temporary feelings dictate my permanent results. It's deciding that your effort, your preparation, and your integrity are non-negotiable. It's deciding that you will take responsibility for your life regardless of circumstances. Discipline is freedom. Discipline is power. Discipline is strength. I've seen so many people who have talent, vision, and even motivation, but they lack discipline. They start strong, full of energy and excitement, but when the grind gets tough, when the work feels heavy, when the world tests them, they crumble. Motivation doesn't push them through the hard days, but discipline does. Discipline is what allows you to continue when everything inside you wants to stop. Discipline is what allows you to rise when the world is trying to push you down. Discipline also teaches patience. It teaches that results are not always immediate, that growth is rarely visible in the moment. You may train, practice, work, and prepare for months, even years, without seeing the fruits of your labor. Motivation might fade in those periods of waiting, but discipline carries you. Discipline allows you to trust the process. Discipline allows you to remain consistent even when success seems distant. And over time, those disciplined efforts compound into mastery, into achievement, into the kind of results that motivation alone could never have delivered. There is also a mental component to discipline. Discipline is not just about showing up physically or putting in the hours. Discipline is about controlling your mind. It's about deciding which thoughts you allow to take root and which ones you reject. Fear will come. Doubt will try to whisper. Excuses will tempt you to quit. But discipline is telling your mind, not today. I'm in control. I choose effort. I choose growth. I choose excellence. That mental toughness is forged through discipline, not motivation. Motivation is temporary, discipline is permanent. I remember times when I was tired, when I was disappointed, when the world seemed indifferent to my work. I could have let my feelings dictate my actions. I could have chosen to rest, to wait for the right moment, to let the fire come back. But I didn't. I chose discipline. I chose consistency. I chose to keep showing up, to keep putting in the work, to keep believing in myself even when no one else did. And those choices, repeated over time, built strength, character, and resilience. Discipline is a form of self-respect. It is telling yourself that you matter enough to commit fully, even when it's uncomfortable. It is refusing to allow temporary emotions, temporary fatigue, or temporary doubt to dictate your destiny. Discipline creates freedom because when you are disciplined, you do not have to rely on motivation to get results. You are no longer at the mercy of your feelings. You are no longer waiting for inspiration. You are the master of your actions, the captain of your life, the architect of your future. I've also realized that discipline is contagious. When you practice it consistently, it inspires those around you. People see your dedication, your consistency, your ability to keep going when it's hard, and they are drawn to it. Discipline becomes your silent influence, your invisible power, and it elevates everyone around you. Motivation is noisy, fleeting, and temporary. Discipline is steady, quiet, and eternal. The truth is, motivation will always come and go. Some days it will lift you up, other days it will abandon you. Discipline, however, is always there. Discipline is what allows you to rise before the sun, to push past your limits, to embrace discomfort, to continue when everyone else quits. Discipline is what allows you to build a life of purpose, of strength, and of resilience. Discipline is what allows you to achieve greatness when motivation has left you behind. So I stopped chasing motivation. I stopped waiting for inspiration. I stopped hoping that I would feel ready. I started relying on discipline. I started making the decision every single day to show up, to give my best, to persist, to stay focused, to honor my effort, and to trust that my consistent work would pay off. And over time, that discipline turned into strength that could not be shaken by fear, doubt, or circumstance. Discipline is stronger than motivation because motivation is temporary, but discipline is permanent. Motivation will come and go, but discipline will carry you through the storms. Motivation may ignite the spark, but discipline keeps the fire alive. And when you choose discipline over motivation, when you decide that effort and consistency are non-negotiable, that is when you discover what real strength feels like. That is when you realize you are unstoppable. That is when you rise above every challenge and stay strong in any situation. I've learned something powerful about life. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. For a long time, I looked at pain as my enemy. I saw it as a punishment, an obstacle, something unfair that I had to fight against. When life hit me with loss, rejection, failure, or disappointment, I felt betrayed. I asked, why me? Why now? I resented the discomfort, the struggle, the hardship. I tried to avoid it, to push it away, to numb it with distractions. And yet, the more I resisted, the more it controlled me. I realized that I had been fighting the very thing that could make me stronger. That's when I began to see pain differently. Pain is not my enemy. Pain is my teacher. Pain is a guide, a mentor, a force that, when embraced, shapes me into someone unshakable. Pain is honest. Pain does not lie. Pain shows me where I am weak. It exposes the corners of my life I have been ignoring. It shines a light on laziness, on procrastination, on fear, and on lack of preparation. It forces me to confront myself, to look in the mirror and be brutally honest about who I am and who I want to become. That's uncomfortable. That's raw. But that is the kind of honesty that cannot be taught in a classroom or learned from a book. It must be lived. It must be felt. And when I allow it to teach me, it becomes a tool for growth. I've also learned that pain teaches patience. In a world where instant gratification is celebrated, pain forces me to slow down, to endure, to wait. Pain is uncomfortable because it resists my control. I want things to be easy. I want outcomes to come quickly. But pain reminds me that nothing worth having comes without effort, struggle, and persistence. Pain teaches me that the journey is often harder than the destination, and that is where strength is built. Pain teaches resilience. Life is going to knock you down. It's going to test you in ways you never imagined. It's going to take away what you value most. It's going to challenge your beliefs. It's going to strip you of comfort and certainty. And in those moments, you have a choice. You can let it break you, or you can let it strengthen you. I've faced setbacks, failures, and losses that felt unbearable in the moment. But every time I chose to rise, to learn, to grow, I became stronger. I realized that pain does not define me. My response to it does. That is where real power lies. I've also discovered that pain builds empathy. When I face hardship, I understand the struggles of others more deeply. I can walk in their shoes. I can offer support, encouragement, and understanding because I've been there. Pain softens arrogance and teaches humility. It reminds me that life is fragile, that everyone is fighting battles I may not see, and that compassion is a form of strength. Pain teaches perspective. What feels devastating today often becomes a distant memory tomorrow, carrying lessons I wouldn't have learned any other way. The heartbreak that seemed unendurable teaches me the value of love. The failure that seemed final teaches me resilience. The disappointment that seemed crushing teaches me patience and strategy. And over time, I see the patterns, the growth, and the wisdom hidden within the struggle. Pain in this sense is not a curse. It is a guide toward a fuller, wiser, more resilient life. I have to remind myself daily that my response to pain matters more than the pain itself. Life is going to challenge me, but I am not powerless. I can react with bitterness, fear, and self-pity, or I can react with courage, awareness, and discipline. That choice is mine. That choice is where strength is forged. Every time I choose growth over resentment, I build resilience. Every time I choose awareness over avoidance, I build character. Every time I face pain head on, I carve a stronger version of myself out of the struggle. Pain also tests courage. It is easy to be brave when life is easy, when the sun is shining and everything is going your way. True courage is revealed when the world is against you, when everything inside wants to quit, when fear threatens to paralyze you. Pain is the proving ground for courage. When I stand in the fire of difficulty, when I refuse to back down in the face of hardship, I discover my own strength. I realize that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to move forward despite fear. I've come to understand that pain is temporary, but the lessons it teaches are permanent. Every scar, every setback, every moment of heartbreak carries knowledge. It carries understanding. It carries the blueprint for growth. And if I am willing to embrace it, to study it, to learn from it, I become unshakable. I no longer fear pain. I no longer avoid it. I welcome it because I know it is shaping me into the person I am meant to become. Pain demands action. It does not allow passivity. It forces me to face difficult truths, to make hard decisions, to change what needs to be changed. And in that action, I find freedom. I find empowerment. I find strength. Pain, when met with courage, does not diminish me. It elevates me. It refines me. It prepares me for the next challenge, the next test, the next stage of life. I've also realized that embracing pain is a form of self-respect. It says, I will not run from difficulty. I will not hide from discomfort. I will face life as it is, and I will grow from it. That kind of commitment, that kind of courage, cannot be taught or inherited. It must be lived. And when I live it, I become unstoppable. Pain has a way of revealing what matters most. It strips away distractions. It exposes priorities. It clarifies purpose. When life hurts, when the world seems unfair, I am forced to ask myself, what do I truly value? What am I willing to fight for? What kind of person do I want to be? Pain answers those questions more clearly than comfort ever could. And in that clarity, I find direction, focus, and strength. The greatest people I have ever known, the people I admire the most, did not avoid pain. They faced it. They leaned into it. They learned from it. They allowed it to shape them. And that is why they are strong. That is why they are unshakable. Pain is not the obstacle. Pain is the teacher. Pain is the force that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. So I remind myself every day pain is temporary, but strength is eternal. Pain is a teacher, not an enemy. It will come, it will challenge, it will push, it will sting. But if I meet it with courage, discipline, and awareness, it will shape me into a version of myself I could never have become otherwise. I will endure, I will learn, I will rise, and I will stay strong in any situation because pain, when embraced, is the greatest mentor I will ever have. I used to be obsessed with results. I thought success meant reaching the finish line, getting recognition, achieving a goal, or seeing immediate proof that all my effort mattered. I measured myself by outcomes, by what people could see, by what I could hold in my hands. And for a while, I chased results with everything I had. I worked tirelessly, I sacrificed, I pushed, and yet I often found myself frustrated, disappointed, and exhausted. The problem wasn't my effort. The problem was my faith. My faith was in the outcome, in what I hoped would happen, in the applause, the acknowledgement, the reward, and when it didn't come, I doubted myself. I questioned my worth. I questioned my path. It took me years to understand a simple truth. Faith in the process is far more powerful than faith in the outcome. Life doesn't owe you results. Life doesn't guarantee recognition. Life doesn't care about your expectations. But life does reward consistency, effort, preparation, and belief in the work itself. When I began to shift my focus from outcomes to the process, everything changed. I began to find strength in showing up, in giving my best, in committing fully, regardless of whether anyone noticed or whether success arrived on my timeline. The process is where the real work is done. It's in the daily grind, the repetition, the moments when no one is watching, and it feels like nothing is happening. Most people give up in that stage. Most people expect the spark, the reward, the instant result. But the truth is that's not how greatness is built. Greatness is built in the mundane, the routine, the consistent, disciplined effort that compounds over time. Faith in the process is trusting that every small action matters, that every step forward counts, even if it's invisible now. I learned that patience is part of the process. Growth cannot be rushed. Mastery cannot be forced. Results often take longer than we expect, and the waiting period is where faith is tested. During those times, it's easy to get discouraged. It's easy to compare yourself to others, to measure your progress against someone else's highlight reel, to wonder if all your work is in vain. That's the moment when discipline and faith must take over. You have to trust that your effort is accumulating, that your consistency is building strength, and that your dedication will eventually produce the results you're working toward. Faith in the process requires humility. It requires me to accept that I am not in control of everything, that results may come in ways I cannot predict, and that recognition might not arrive when I expect it. I cannot control timing, I cannot control circumstances, but I cannot control how others perceive my work. But I can control my effort, my focus, my commitment to excellence. That is where faith resides, in the belief that if I continue to do the right work, the right things will follow even if I cannot see them yet. I've experienced moments when it felt like nothing was working, when doors were closing, when setbacks seemed relentless. I could have stopped, given up, or changed direction. But I reminded myself that faith in the process doesn't waver because of temporary results. Faith in the process is unwavering commitment. Faith in the process is showing up even when it's hard, even when progress is slow, even when it feels invisible. And over time, that commitment pays off in ways I could never have imagined at the start. Trusting the process also builds resilience. When I focus solely on outcomes, every failure feels like defeat. Every delay feels like a setback. Every criticism feels like a personal attack. But when I trust the process, I see failure differently. I see it as feedback. I see it as a lesson. I see it as an opportunity to adjust, improve, and grow. The process allows me to frame life's challenges as part of the journey, not the end of it. That perspective transforms obstacles into stepping stones and setbacks into preparation for greater success. Faith in the process is also about commitment to your own standards. It's about refusing to compromise on effort, integrity, and excellence just because results are delayed. It's about honoring the work itself, the craft, the discipline, and the growth that comes with showing up every day. When I commit to the process, I am no longer a slave to validation, applause, or external recognition. I measure my success by whether I gave my best, whether I improved, and whether I maintained my integrity along the way. That is the foundation of true strength. I've also realized that trusting the process creates freedom. It frees me from the tyranny of outcomes, from the constant worry about what others think, from the pressure to succeed immediately. When I focus on the work, on my effort, on my growth, I am liberated from fear of failure and from the constant need for approval. I can embrace challenges, take risks, and push beyond my comfort zone because I trust that consistent, committed effort will carry me where I need to go. Faith in the process allows me to act boldly, without being paralyzed by uncertainty or doubt. The process is not glamorous. It is not always exciting. It does not always provide immediate gratification, but it is honest, it is steady, it is reliable, and it is where real results are born. Motivation will come and go. Inspiration will arrive in bursts. But the process is constant, and it rewards those who honor it with consistency, patience, and relentless effort. I have learned that success is not a single moment. Success is the accumulation of small, deliberate actions taken over time. Success is the discipline of showing up, doing the work, and trusting that the seeds you plant today will grow into the outcomes you desire tomorrow. Faith in the process allows me to remain committed when life is difficult, to remain consistent when others give up, and to remain focused when distractions threaten to derail me. I remind myself daily, results are not always immediate, recognition is not guaranteed, and life may test me relentlessly. But if I trust the process, if I commit to doing the work, if I stay disciplined and focused, I am already winning. The process itself is where strength is built, character is forged, and resilience is cultivated. Every action, every choice, every effort compounds, even if I cannot see it yet. Faith in the process is the quiet, unshakable confidence that no matter the outcome, I am moving in the right direction. And that, I have learned, is far more powerful than obsessing over results. Outcomes are fleeting, unpredictable, and often out of my control. The process, however, is mine. It is something I can shape, something I can honor, something I can trust. When I place my faith in the process, I stop worrying about what I cannot control. I focus on what I can, my effort, my discipline, my growth, and my integrity. And when I do that consistently, the results inevitably follow. Faith in the process teaches patience, builds resilience, strengthens discipline, and cultivates character. It allows me to weather storms, navigate uncertainty, and rise above setbacks. It transforms life from a series of disappointments into a journey of growth, learning, and preparation. When I trust the process, I am no longer dependent on immediate success or external validation. I am grounded, I am focused, I am unstoppable. Life has a way of testing us in ways we never expect. Sometimes the world feels like it's against you. Sometimes you'll find yourself in a room full of people who don't understand you, don't believe in you, and may even question your every move. There are moments when no one stands beside you, when encouragement is absent, when applause is silent, and yet the path ahead demands that you keep moving. Those are the moments when true strength is revealed. I've learned that standing tall, even when you're alone, is not just about courage, it's about integrity, self-belief, and the unshakable understanding that your value is not determined by anyone else. When you are alone, you are stripped of external validation. There is no one to cheer you on, no one to acknowledge your effort, no one to confirm that your vision is correct. In those moments, it is easy to doubt yourself. It is easy to question your choices, your direction, your ability. But I've discovered that those moments, as uncomfortable as they are exactly where character is forged. Standing tall in solitude is a declaration: I believe in myself. I trust my path. I honor my purpose. I will not waver because the world is silent. Being alone does not mean being weak. In fact, it is often in isolation that we discover our true power. I have faced criticism, misunderstanding, and doubt from people I respected, from friends, from colleagues, even from strangers. And there were times when the weight of that doubt felt overwhelming. I could have allowed it to shake me, to make me question my abilities, to make me turn back. But standing tall is not about waiting for approval. It is about committing to your principles, your values, and your goals, regardless of what others think. It is about walking through fire with your head held high even when no one walks beside you. When you stand tall in solitude, you develop resilience. Life will knock you down repeatedly. People will doubt you. Circumstances will seem impossible. But when you learn to stand firm without leaning on the support or approval of others, you create a foundation that cannot be shaken. I've learned to anchor myself in my own conviction, to find strength in my own commitment, and to rely on my own courage. And that foundation, built in the absence of applause, becomes unbreakable. Being alone forces self-reliance. You learn to trust your judgment, your instincts, and your vision. You learn that waiting for someone else's approval is a waste of time and energy. Every step you take alone is a step of courage, a step of self-belief, a step of personal empowerment. I've realized that the moments I thought were the loneliest were actually the most liberating. They were the moments I discovered that my strength is not dependent on anyone else. My purpose is not dependent on anyone else. My value is not dependent on anyone else. I stand tall because I have chosen to, because I know who I am, and because I trust where I am going. There is a certain clarity that comes from standing alone. When no one else is talking, when there are no external voices shaping your decisions, you are forced to listen to yourself. You are forced to evaluate your own priorities, your own desires, and your own path. You are forced to confront your fears and insecurities, to face the doubts in your own mind, and to rise above them. That clarity is priceless, and it is only accessible to those who dare to stand tall when the crowd is silent. Standing tall in solitude also builds courage that cannot be taught. It is easy to be brave when you are surrounded by support, when people encourage you, when the path feels safe. True courage is forged when the path is uncertain, when the world doubts you, when you feel the weight of every obstacle pressing down on you. I've faced moments when giving up would have been the easy choice. But courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move forward despite fear. And when you stand tall in those moments, you prove to yourself that nothing outside of you has the power to dictate your destiny. I have learned that standing tall is an act of defiance against doubt and negativity. People may question your vision, your choices, or your abilities. Circumstances may seem unfair. Life may throw challenge after challenge. But when you choose to remain upright, when you choose to honor your purpose, when you choose to trust yourself, you take control of your narrative. No opinion, no obstacle, no circumstance can determine your worth. That power is yours. That strength is yours. And when you embrace it, you become unstoppable. Being alone teaches patience. It teaches that not everyone will understand your journey, and not everyone is meant to be part of it. Some people will leave, some people will doubt, some people will criticize. And that is okay. Standing tall in solitude allows you to focus on your own growth, on your own discipline, and on your own progress. It allows you to refine your skills, clarify your vision, and strengthen your character without distraction. The process of standing alone molds you into a person who can withstand any storm, because you have practiced strength without reliance on external support. I've realized that standing tall in solitude is not just about enduring life's challenges. It's about thriving through them. It's about taking ownership of your journey, your decisions, and your outcomes. It's about creating a mindset where you are your own anchor, your own guide, and your own source of courage. When you reach that state, you are no longer at the mercy of circumstances or people. You are in control of your life, and that is the essence of true strength. The moments when I have stood alone have shaped me more than any moment of applause or recognition ever could. Those moments tested my resolve, sharpened my focus, and strengthened my character. They reminded me that my power comes from within, not from validation, and that the path to greatness is often walked in solitude. I've learned that being alone is not a punishment, it is an opportunity. An opportunity to cultivate resilience, to develop courage, to clarify purpose, and to stand firm in the face of adversity. Standing tall even when you're alone means embracing responsibility for your life. It means acknowledging that you are the only one who can dictate your effort, your discipline, and your integrity. It means refusing to blame circumstances, refusing to wait for permission, and refusing to let others define your worth. It means trusting yourself enough to keep moving, even when the path is uncertain and the journey is difficult. That is where true strength is born. I remind myself daily the storms will come, the world will challenge me, and support may not always be available. But I have the power to stand tall, to trust my path, to honor my purpose, and to believe in myself. Being alone is not weakness. It is preparation. It is training. It is the forge in which unshakable confidence, resilience, and courage are created. And when I stand tall in those moments, I am ready for anything life throws my way. Ultimately, standing tall when you are alone is about more than surviving. It is about thriving. It is about creating a foundation so strong that no opinion, circumstance, or obstacle can shake it. It is about mastering the art of self-reliance, courage, and unwavering commitment to your purpose. It is about proving to yourself every single day that you are capable, resilient, and unbreakable. And that is how you stay strong in any situation, no matter who stands beside you or who does not.